Hello students, hope you all are fine. I'm Dr. Ritu Khosla and today I am going to discuss Marx's dialectical materialism. Students, this is a very significant part of Marx's theory of scientific socialism. In fact, Marx's historical materialism rests on dialectical materialism. Now, first of all, the question is, what is a dialect? Now, dialect is a process which believes in the notion that historical processes go by opposition. As per this, anything, any organization or idea or thesis, when it grows to full, there begins an opposite tendency in it, or you can say contradiction starts within it. These conflicting tendencies leads to synthesis, or we can refer to it as a unity. However, this synthesis is not a permanent one, and over the period of time, contradiction again emerges in it. In whole, we can say that there are three steps which are involved in the whole dialect process. First, there is a thesis. It results in step number 2, which is antithesis. Contradiction between thesis and antithesis leads to the third step, that is synthesis. Now, it is stated in the short history of Communist Party of Soviet Union that dialectic enables the party to find the right orientation towards any situation, to understand the inner connections of current events, to foresee their course, and to perceive not only how and in what direction they are bound to develop in the future. Let me explain you these lines. Now let us start first with dialectic enables a party to find the right orientation to any situation, to understand the inner connections of current events. It means that through this path, one can trace and understand the situation logically, and it helps in understanding why that particular thing happened. For example, as per Marx, the two classes, that is the bourgeoisies and the proletariats, they are in clash with each other. Through dialect, we can understand the reason why they are clashing. That is, there is an exploitation of one class by another. Now let us read further. To foresee their course and to perceive not only how and in what direction they are bound to develop in the future. It means through dialect we can understand their course, that is from past have been exploiting the have-nots, and further we can understand their direction in future. Here I would like to add Marx's future notion. He said because of the contradiction between the bourgeoisies and the proletariat will revolt against the bourgeoisies, and the future will be a classless and a stateless society. We know that Marx was inspired by Hegel for the dialectical process. Now let's talk what Marx learned from Hegel. First, world including individuals and societies, they are dynamic in nature. That is, they keep on changing continuously, they are not static. Second, history is not mere sequence of events. That is, there are not just events mentioned in a timeline or years ki is saal ke baad ye hua, is saal ke baad ye hua. Rather, it is a gradual process of unfoldment. It means that one event leads to another or influences the events in the future. And this unfoldment doesn't take place in a straight line, whether it follows a zigzag process. Now, contradiction takes place between the thesis and antithesis. That leads to the development of destroying all the negative aspects in the process. Now, Hegel calls this process as negation of negative. Now, negation of negative, it means that everything that negates itself to transform itself into a better quality. It means that whenever there is a contradiction going on in any organization or in any thesis, it will lead to a better way. It will lead to a higher plane. However, Marx did not accept Hegel's dialectic as it is. Rather, he changed it in view of his own historical materialism. Now, let us discuss the major difference between Marx and Hegel. First, for Hegel, the evolving reality is spirit or mind. That is, the dialectical process leads to evolving of mind, but for Marx, matter is the beginning and end of all reality. For him, everything is made up of matter. Second, Hegel predicted that history has evolved in such a manner that Germany will rise as a leader in European civilization. But for Marx, history was not related to the supremacy of any nation. Rather, history will lead to rise of proletariat class. Third, Hegel believed in self-developing spirit principle embodied in historic nations. But for Marx, it was self-developing system of productive forces on the basis of distribution of economic forces. Fourth, Hegel said system of progress is based on warfare between the states, but for Marx, it is based on struggle between classes. Last, Lastly, Hegel pleaded for national patriotism to strengthen a nation, but Marx appealed to the workers to unite with the fellow workers to strengthen themselves. So these were the major differences between the Hegel and Marx. Now, students, let us start with the Marx dialectical materialism. Now, first of all, Marx never explained what he meant by materialism. He just stated that his materialism is dialectic and not mechanical. Now, dialectic, not mechanical, it means that it is progressive, it is dynamic. And if we talk about a mechanical process, it is something which is fixed. You can't change that. Further, Marx says that world by nature it is material, that is it is made up of matter, and whatever happens, whatever event occurs, it is all because of matter in motion. So the world is developing as per the laws of movement in matter. This is the reason Marx considered material world as primary, as everything is based on matter here. For him, mind or spirit is secondary thing. That is why Marx always gave more importance to material well-being of the people and not to the spirituality. For him, spiritual life and religion were just secondary. Marx, he said that it is not the consciousness of men that determines their being, but on contrary, their social being that determines their consciousness. Now, this quote implies that Marx believed that individual or isolated consciousness doesn't determine the existence of individual. Rather, it is social existence which defines the consciousness of a person. For example, if a person belongs to a poor class, he will have consciousness related to people of his class. Thus, the economic struggle between the classes is due to the class consciousness. The next one, the different social doctrines that appear at various periods of history are reflection of material well-being. Now, there are various determinants of material well-being of society like geographical movement, population, modes of production, etc. But the most important one is mode of production according to Marx. He says, one who controls the mode of production influences the social doctrine. The class which controls the economic power influences the social norms, political scenario, lifestyle of people of that time, and so on. So it means everything will be controlled by the economically powerful class. Further, the fifth point, Marx says that mode of production is also dynamic. It develops as thesis, antithesis, and synthesis that we have just recently done. For instance, during feudalism, when there was a conflict between the feudal lords and tenants, that gave way to the industrial class as a vacuum was created. With the coming up of the industrial class, antithesis emerged in the form of proletariat. Marx said that this will lead to synthesis of a classless and a stateless society. This, according to Marx, socialism will emerge out of ashes of capitalism. In his words, capitalism carries within itself the seeds of destruction, and finally, capitalism will come to an end and communism will emerge as a victorious one. Now, students, let us discuss the various implications from dialectical materialism. Hello, dialectical. Marx made his concept scientific, precise, and certain. Second, the real motive force in the history of a society is the material condition. Third, materialism of Marx rejected religion as it is not based on reality, that is matter. Rather, it is an imagination. He called religion as opium of people. Fourth, It led to a far-reaching revolution, that is, a social revolution, which will lead to a creation of higher society, where there will be no exploitation, there will be no state. This society, which will be classless and stateless, will be the final goal of social development. Fifth, earlier also various methods of social analysis prevailed to study nature of state and society. However, as per Marx, these methods they were not good as they viewed society from a static point. Now Marx believed that there has been a continuity in human history and human nature, and it is influenced by the environment in which he is living. So, girls, all these were the implications of Marx dialectical materialism. Hope you understood the concept. Thank you so much. Have a great learning.